How does a wedding turn into a reckoning? How does a stepfather who paid $42,000 for a celebration end up banned from it at 2 in the morning by the girl he raised? This is how I stood outside that wedding hall, calm, steady, after one phone call turned their perfect day into a nightmare they never forgot. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. The email notification chimed at 1:47 a.m. Another property evaluation completed. I saved the spreadsheet, rubbed my ears, and felt that particular satisfaction that comes from knowing you've done solid work. 28 years old, and I'd built a reputation as someone who could assess a business asset down to the last cent. People trusted my numbers because my numbers didn't lie. Numbers were clean, honest. Unlike people. I leaned back in my desk chair, feeling the familiar ache in my lower back from sitting too long. The apartment was quiet, except for the hum of my laptop fan and the occasional car passing on the street below. I lived in a modest one-bedroom place on the east side of town. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Clean white walls, secondhand furniture that I'd assembled myself, a kitchen table that doubled as my workspace when I brought evaluations home. My phone buzzed on the desk. A text message from Marina. I smiled before I even opened it. Probably excited about the wedding, just 3 days away now. She'd been texting me photos all week. Centerpiece options, dress fittings, cake designs. Each message a small window into the life she was building. I'd paid for all of it. $42,000 from my savings, accumulated carefully over the years since I'd started working at 18. The same year her mother walked out. The message loaded. Dad, I canceled your invite. You're not my biological father. Mom is coming instead. Don't show up. I read it twice, then a third time. The words didn't change. The screen blurred slightly. I blinked, focused, read it again. Each word sharp and deliberate. No autocorrect mistakes, no ambiguity. A second message appeared. Raven deserves to be there. She's my real parent. You were just there. Thanks for the money, though. I set the phone down slowly on the desk surface. My hand was steady, completely steady. I expected something. Tears, maybe, or anger, or that hollow feeling I remembered from 10 years ago when Raven packed her bags and said she needed to find herself, somewhere that didn't include a daughter or a stepson-turned-husband. But I felt none of that. I felt absolutely nothing at all, just a strange emptiness, like someone had scooped out my chest and left only space. I picked up the phone again, scrolled through my messages. Weeks of conversations about seating charts, vendor confirmations, timeline adjustments. I'd coordinated with the venue staff, approved menu changes, signed off on the upgraded photography package Marina wanted. All of it in my name. All of it on my credit. Each transaction leaving my account with Marina's promises that this would be the most beautiful day of her life. Our lives, I'd thought. Our celebration. I stood up, feeling the stiffness in my legs, grabbed my jacket from the hook by the door. The leather was worn at the elbows, comfortable. I'd had it since college, back when Marina still hugged me goodbye before school. The drive to the venue took 20 minutes. The city was empty at this hour, streetlights casting orange pools on wet pavement. Rain had stopped an hour ago, leaving everything slick and reflective. Puddles caught the light and threw it back. I didn't speed, didn't rush, just drove with the same methodical calm I brought to every property assessment. Red light, stop. Green light, go. Turn signal before every lane change. The venue sat on the north edge of town, an old estate converted into an events center. Elegant stone facade, manicured gardens, the kind of place people saved for years to afford, the kind of place Marina had fallen in love with the moment she saw the brochure. The parking lot was empty except for a few staff vehicles near the service entrance. The main building stood dark, but I could see lights in the coordinator's office on the second floor, a warm yellow glow against the darkness. I pulled into a spot near the front entrance, turned off the engine, and sat for a moment in silence. Through the windshield, I could see the building's outline. The decorative columns, the grand entrance with its double doors, the balcony where Marina had planned to throw her bouquet. I got out, walked to the front entrance, tried the door, locked. I knocked. Firm, steady, 3 times. A woman in her 30s appeared after a minute, looking annoyed until she saw my face. Recognition flickered across her features. She was wearing casual clothes, jeans, a venue polo shirt, hair pulled back in a ponytail, probably catching up on paperwork. Mr. Hale, it's 2:30 in the morning. I know, I need to confirm something about Saturday. She hesitated, then unlocked the door. The bolt clicked. Is everything okay? Is my name still on the guest list? Her expression shifted, uncomfortable. She glanced away, then back. Let me check. She didn't need to check. I could see it in her face, in the way her shoulders tensed, in the slight pause before she spoke. There was a change request this afternoon, she said carefully. The bride called. She said there had been a family situation, and I'm not invited. I'm sorry. She was very clear. She said her mother would be attending in your place. She asked us to remove your name from all the materials. I nodded slowly. Processing. The contracts. They're all in my name, correct? Well, yes, but thank you. That's all I needed to know. I walked back to my car. The night air was cool against my skin. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Once, twice, then silence again. I sat in the driver's seat, looked at the building through the windshield, at the elegant facade I'd admired when Marina first showed me the venue photos. She'd fallen in love with it immediately. The garden pavilion, the crystal chandeliers, the marble floors, the way the sunset hit the windows during golden hour. I'd made it happen, transferred the deposit within 24 hours of her asking, signed the contract without reading the fine print because I trusted her, because she was my daughter in every way that mattered. Or so I'd thought. I pulled out my phone and scrolled to a contact. Dorian. We'd met in college, stayed close. He'd gone to law school while I went into business evaluation. Different paths, same practical mindset. He worked at a small firm downtown, specialized in contract law. Good at his job, discreet. I made the call. It rang twice. Evan, what's wrong? His voice was groggy, concerned. Dorian, I know it's late. I need you to pull every contract I signed for Marina's wedding. Every receipt, every clause, every cancellation term. I need to know exactly what rights I have as the primary payer. A pause on the other end. I heard sheets rustling. Evan, what happened? Just do it. I'll explain tomorrow. It's pretty serious if you're calling at 2:30 in the morning. It is. Another pause. Longer. Okay. Give me until noon. I'll pull everything. Thank you. I ended the call. Inside the venue, I could see a printer starting up in the coordinator's office. The light flickered. Fresh seating charts, probably. With my name erased. New programs printed. New place cards made. All the little details adjusted to reflect my absence, like I'd never existed. I started the engine and drove home through the empty streets. I was 10 when my mother married Leon. I barely remembered my biological father. He'd left when I was 3. Just vague impressions of a tall man who smelled like cigarettes and motor oil. Leon was different, steady, present. He taught me that competence was quiet, that real strength didn't announce itself. He worked as an accountant for 30 years, retired early with a modest pension, spent his days in his home office managing small business consultations. When I graduated high school, he helped me get my first evaluation contract, said I had an eye for what things were really worth. Most people see what they want to see, he'd told me. You see what's actually there. Leon and my mother lived in a small house on Maple Street. Brick facade, neat lawn. The kind of place that looked exactly like what it was, a comfortable middle-class home maintained by people who took pride in their space. Marina was 12 when Raven left. I was 18, fresh out of school, working 2 jobs to help keep things stable. One job doing bookkeeping for a local hardware store, another doing weekend evaluations for a real estate firm. Leon and I became Marina's world by default. I wasn't her father, never pretended to be, but I showed up, helped with homework at the kitchen table, drove her to volleyball practice 3 times a week, sat through parent-teacher conferences where teachers praised her grades and worried about her quietness, made breakfast before school, paid for the things Raven's child support checks never quite covered. Those checks came irregularly, sometimes 2 months late, sometimes not at all. Raven would send apologetic texts about cash flow issues and promise to catch up soon. She never did. Marina used to call me Dad. Not because I asked, just because it felt natural, she said once. Because I was there when she woke up from nightmares. Because I was there when she got her period and didn't know what to do. Because I was there for the small daily moments that built a life. That changed about 2 years ago. Raven started appearing on social media. Glamorous photos from European cities, Barcelona, Paris, Rome, motivational captions about self-discovery and living authentically. Choose yourself, and never settle, and your happiness matters most. Comments from Marina. So proud of you, Mom. Heart emojis. Tagging her in posts, sharing her content. At first, I thought it was healthy. A daughter reconnecting with her mother, healing old wounds. I encouraged it. Marina stopped calling me Dad around that time, started using my first name, Evan. Like I was a colleague, a roommate, someone she happened to know. Then she met Cole. I remember the first time she brought him to Sunday dinner at Leon's house. Cole came from money. That was obvious immediately. His family owned a chain of upscale restaurants across 3 states. 24 years old, MBA from a private university, drove a car that cost more than I made in a year. Sleek gray sedan with leather interior and a dashboard that looked like a spaceship. He was polite enough in person, shook hands firmly, made eye contact, complimented my mother's cooking. But there was always this edge, this subtle assumption that he belonged in rooms I didn't. The way he talked about summer in the Hamptons and networking at the club, like everyone did those things. The way he looked at my worn jacket and secondhand watch with a barely perceptible glance that said everything. Marina started posting photos, her and Cole at gallery openings, standing in front of abstract paintings I didn't understand, charity galas where everyone wore black tie, weekend trips to wine country, holding glasses up to the camera, captions like, "So grateful for someone who inspires me to be my best self," and "Finally living the life I always dreamed of." I wasn't in any of those photos, not one. When I mentioned it once, casually, Marina had shrugged. "You don't really fit the aesthetic, Evan." The aesthetic, like I was a piece of furniture that clashed with her decor. One evening, about 6 months before the wedding, Marina came by my apartment. It was a Tuesday. I just finished a long evaluation of a manufacturing facility. 12-hour day, I was tired, hungry, looking forward to microwaving leftovers and watching something mindless on television. She knocked at 7, didn't call first, just showed up. "Hey," she said when I opened the door. Breezy, casual, like we saw each other all the time instead of once every few weeks. "Marina, come in." She stepped inside, glanced around. I saw it in her eyes, the slight judgment, the small apartment, the basic furniture, the lack of what she'd call style. She sat on my couch and pulled out her phone. Didn't ask how I was, didn't make small talk. "I need to talk to you about the wedding," she said. "Of course. What do you need?" She showed me a spreadsheet. Professional, color-coded, detailed, venue rental, catering for 200 guests, photography package with drone footage and same-day editing, floral arrangements from a designer who'd done arrangements for celebrities, band with a 12-piece ensemble, open bar with premium options, hotel block for out-of-town guests, transportation, favors, programs, save the dates, invitations printed on custom paper. "Cole's family is covering the honeymoon and the rehearsal dinner," she said, "but we need help with the main event." She wasn't asking, she was informing, stating facts. I looked at the numbers at the bottom. $42,000. "Though, that's everything I've saved," I said quietly. "I know. But this is important, Evan. This is my wedding, my one day. Every girl dreams about this. I need it to be perfect." She didn't say our day, didn't say she wanted me there to walk her down the aisle, didn't say she was grateful, just said she needed the money. "Let me think about it," I said. Her face hardened. "There's nothing to think about. I need to know now. The venue requires a deposit by Friday." "Marina, this is..." "What? Too much?" "Because Cole's family thinks it's perfectly reasonable. They've offered to help, but I wanted to give you the chance first, since you're always saying you care about me." The guilt trip was obvious. Clumsy, but effective. I transferred the funds that week, all of it. Every dollar I'd saved over 10 years. Gone in a single electronic transaction. Marina sent a single text in response. "Thanks. Venue is booked." No gratitude, no emotion, just confirmation. I sat now in a cafe 2 blocks from my office, 3 days after the text message, listening to 2 women at the next table gossip about Marina's wedding. They were in their 50s, well-dressed, probably friends of Cole's mother. "I heard the groom's family is paying for everything," one said, stirring sugar into her coffee. "Completely luxury. The venue alone is $15,000? The other laughed. "Marina's so lucky. Cole's absolutely devoted to her, and his family has such connections. This wedding is going to be the event of the season." I sipped my coffee and said nothing. Let them talk. Let them believe whatever story had been constructed. At work that afternoon, my colleague Janet stopped by my desk. She was in her 40s, cheerful, always asking about people's lives, the kind of coworker who remembered birthdays and brought cookies. "Big weekend coming up, right? Marina's wedding?" "That's right. You must be so excited. You've been planning this for months. I remember when you first told us she got engaged." "Months," I agreed. She smiled warmly. "I bet you'll cry when you walk her down the aisle. Fathers always do." I didn't correct her, didn't explain that I wouldn't be walking her anywhere. Just nodded and turned back to my computer screen. She walked away, humming. I opened my email. Dorian had sent a file. 53 pages of contracts, receipts, terms, and conditions, all bearing my name, all showing payment confirmation from my accounts. The email subject line read, "Everything you asked for. Call me." I downloaded the file, opened it, started reading. Page 1, Venue Rental Agreement. Primary signatory, Evan Hale. Payment method, bank transfer from Evan Hale's savings account. Date, 6 months ago. Page 7, Catering contract. Authorized payer, Evan Hale. Deposit, $12,000. Balance due. Upon event completion. Page 12, Photography Services Agreement. Contact person, Evan Hale. Full payment received, $6,000. Page after page, my name, my money, my authorization. I read every word, every clause, every subsection. There were patterns, protections built into the contracts that I hadn't noticed when I'd signed them. Clauses about dispute resolution, cancellation terms, primary payer authority, language that gave me rights I hadn't realized I possessed. That evening, Marina stopped by my office. I was the last one there, finishing a valuation report for a restaurant acquisition. The building was quiet, just the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant sound of a janitor's vacuum. "Hey," she said from the doorway, impatient, like I was keeping her waiting. I looked up. She was holding her phone in one hand, designer purse in the other. Outfit that probably cost more than my monthly rent. "I need another favor." Not a greeting, not a "how are you," just a demand. "What is it?" "The florist is offering an upgrade package. Orchids instead of roses. It's only $3,000 more." "Only?" Cole really wants it. His family has orchids at all their events. It's kind of their signature thing, like a tradition, and his mother keeps hinting that the roses are basic. I looked at her, really looked at her. 22 years old, beautiful, confident, standing in my doorway like I was a bank teller, like I existed only to process her transactions. "I already transferred everything I have," I said calmly. "Can't you get a loan or something? It's my wedding, Evan. This is important. You don't understand because you've never—" She stopped, caught herself. "Because I've never what?" "Nothing. Never mind. Can you do it or not? I'll see what I can do." She left without saying thank you, without asking about my day, without acknowledging that I'd already given her everything. Her footsteps echoed down the hallway. The elevator dinged, then silence. I turned back to my computer, stared at the screen. The numbers blurred. My phone buzzed an hour later. A notification from Marina's social media. I'd turned off most alerts months ago, but this one came through anyway. Probably because she'd tagged me, or mentioned me. Something. I clicked. New post. Photo of her with Raven, both smiling, arms around each other, matching necklaces, standing in front of some expensive-looking restaurant. Caption, "Finally complete. So grateful for my mom's return. Family is everything." 300 likes in the first 10 minutes, comments pouring in. Beautiful, and love this, and family goals. I looked at the photo for a long time, at Marina's smile, at Raven's carefully styled hair and designer outfit, at the way they looked like they'd never been apart, at the way I was completely absent. I saved Dorian's file to my desktop and titled it Leverage. Then I opened a new document and started making a list. Leon's home office smelled like old books and coffee, always had. The walls were lined with filing cabinets and shelves packed with reference materials, tax codes, contract templates, legal guides, 40 years of accumulated knowledge organized into neat rows. His desk sat by the window, overlooking the backyard where I used to help him trim hedges on weekends. He sat behind that desk now, reading glasses perched on his nose, reviewing the documents I'd brought. The morning sun came through the window at an angle, illuminating dust particles in the air. Outside, I could hear a lawnmower in the distance. "She actually sent this at 2 a.m?" he asked, looking at the screenshot of Marina's text on my phone. "Yes." He set the phone down carefully, folded his hands on the desk, looked at me the way he used to when I was younger and had come to him with a problem, patient, analytical, ready to help me think through solutions. "Son, people forget who helped them until you remind them." "I don't want to remind them. I want them to feel it." He leaned back in his chair, studying me. The leather creaked. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that every contract for that wedding is in my name, every vendor agreement, every payment confirmation, the venue, the catering, the photographer, the band. All of it goes through me. And I want to know exactly what happens if I withdraw my support." Leon was quiet for a long moment. His fingers drummed once on the desk, twice, then stopped. That would be nuclear, Evan. You understand that? I understand. You'd be ending any relationship with her, permanently. She already ended it. I'm just making it official. He studied my face, looking for doubt, hesitation, finding none. Finally, he opened his laptop. The old machine hummed to life. Let's find out what you can do. We spent 3 hours going through the contracts. Leon had been reviewing legal documents for 40 years. He knew what to look for: the hidden clauses, the obscure subsections, the language that seemed insignificant until you needed it. The venue contract was crystal clear. The primary payer held event rights. Any changes to the event required written authorization from that individual. Cancellation by the payer within 72 hours of the event triggered full service suspension pending resolution. No exceptions. Leon highlighted the section. This means if you pull out before Thursday at 4 p.m., they have to freeze everything. It's automatic. What about the deposit? Is that refundable? Under normal circumstances, no. But look here. He scrolled down. Section 12, subsection C. If the payer withdraws due to documented breach of agreement or changed circumstances, the venue must refund the deposit minus administrative fees. You'd get about 80% back. I did the math in my head. 12,000 returned. Better than nothing. The catering contract was even better. It specified that food service required confirmed payment at least 48 hours prior to the event. If payment was contested or withdrawn, no service would be provided. Period. No gray area, no negotiation. Photography, music, floral arrangements, all the same. The person who paid had final say. The person who authorized had control. It's all completely legal, Leon said quietly. You funded it. You control it. What about penalties? Could she sue me? For what? Withdrawing your own money? You're not legally obligated to pay for her wedding. She has no contract with you, no written agreement. You gave her a gift. You can take it back. And the vendors? They'll be frustrated, but they can't sue you either. Their contracts are clear. You're protected. I sat back in the chair, felt the leather against my spine. The room was warm, comfortable, safe. What about penalties for her? I asked. Leon looked at me over his glasses. Meaning? Meaning if I pull out, does she owe anything? He scrolled through the documents again. The venue will bill her for emergency cancellation fees if she wants to reschedule. The caterer will keep their deposit because the food was already ordered. The photographer might keep half. Total? She'd probably be out about 15,000, plus the embarrassment of canceling last minute. 15,000 she didn't have. Cole's family might cover it, or they might not. Either way, it would hurt. Good. What about evidence? I asked. You mentioned I'd need documentation. For the refund, yes, and to protect yourself if she tries to claim you're acting maliciously. He opened a new document on his laptop. You'd need to show that circumstances changed significantly, that you had reasonable cause to withdraw. I pulled up Marina's text messages on my phone. The 2 a.m. cancellation, the erasure of my invitation, the replacement with Raven, the comment about me being just there. That's your documentation, Leon said quietly. Clear evidence of changed circumstances. She uninvited you from the event you funded. That's breach of implied agreement. Implied agreement? You paid under the assumption you'd be included. She removed that inclusion. That's a material change in circumstances. I nodded slowly, understanding. Leon closed the laptop. Evan, I need to ask you something. What? Are you sure this is what you want? Once you do this, there's no going back. She'll never forgive you. She already decided I don't matter. I'm just making sure she understands the consequences. But you raised her. I know. You loved her. I did. And now? I thought about it, about the 10 years of showing up, the homework help, the volleyball practices, the parent-teacher conferences, the small daily moments that built trust and connection, and then the slow erosion, the shift to using my first name, the absence from photos, the treatment as a financial resource rather than a person. Now I'm done being invisible, I said. Leon nodded slowly. Okay, let me make some notes. The next morning, I drove to the venue, early, 8 a.m. The parking lot was mostly empty, just a maintenance truck and 2 staff cars. The building looked different in daylight, less elegant, more like what it was, an old estate retrofitted for modern events. Cracks in the stone facade, landscaping that needed trimming. I walked into the main office. No appointment. Just showed up. Harper, the coordinator, was at her desk. She looked up when I entered, and her expression immediately shifted to professional courtesy mixed with wariness. "Mr. Hale, what can I help you with?" "I wanted to review the final arrangements, make sure everything's set." She hesitated. "Of course. Would you like to sit?" I sat in the chair across from her desk. The office was small, cluttered, photos of past events on the walls, binders stacked on shelves. A coffee maker in the corner with the pot half full. "The ceremony is at 4 p.m. Saturday," she said, pulling up her computer. "Reception immediately following. We have the garden pavilion reserved for photos at 2. Everything's confirmed." "And the guest list?" Her expression flickered. Uncomfortable. "Yes. We received the updated list from the bride on Monday. The one where I'm not invited." Silence. She looked at her screen, looked back at me. "Mr. Hale, I'm not sure what—" "It's okay. I know what happened. Marina uninvited me, replaced me with her mother." Harper's shoulders relaxed slightly. "I'm sorry. I didn't know how to—" "Not your fault. You were following instructions." I leaned forward slightly. "Can I get copies of all the invoices? For my records." Sure. Just give me a moment." She printed everything. The sound of the printer filled the small office. Page after page, venue rental agreement, catering contract, vendor confirmations, payment receipts, all showing the same name, Evan Hale. As she handed them over, she looked genuinely uncomfortable. "Mr. Hale, I don't know what happened between you and Marina, but has Raven been here?" I asked, cutting her off. "Marina's mother?" Harper blinked. "Yes. Yesterday afternoon, she requested several changes." "What kind of changes?" "She wanted to upgrade the floral arrangements, white orchids instead of roses, more elaborate centerpieces. She also added premium wine to the bar package, top-shelf liquor, and she adjusted the seating layout to put her at the main table instead of me," Harper nodded. "Did she provide payment authorization?" "She said the bride approved everything, and that—" Harper paused, chose her words carefully. "And that the family finances had been restructured." "Meaning?" "Meaning she implied that her family was now covering costs. I assumed that meant she'd worked things out with you." "She didn't work anything out with me. I didn't authorize any changes." Harper's face went pale. "Mr. Hale, if you didn't authorize the changes, then you what? Then we shouldn't have processed them. The contract is clear. All changes require your written approval." "But you did process them." "Yes, because Raven seemed very confident. And she's the mother of the bride. And I thought—" "You thought wrong." Silence. "Mr. Hale, what are you saying?" I collected the printouts, tapped them into a neat stack. "I'm saying that I'm the person who paid for this event, all of it, and nobody asked me about these changes. Nobody verified with me. You just assumed." Her hands were shaking slightly. "If there's a problem, we can reverse the upgrades. It's fine. I'm just clarifying the situation." I stood. "One more question. If the primary payer withdraws financial support, what happens to the event?" She swallowed. Hard. "According to our contract, the event would be frozen, pending resolution." "Frozen." "Yes. No services would be provided until payment status is clarified. It's in Section 7. "How long does clarification take?" "Minimum 24 hours, usually 48. We'd need documentation, verification, resolution between parties. And if resolution isn't reached, then the event is canceled. We refund the deposit minus admin fees, and the clients are responsible for notifying guests." I nodded. "Thank you. That's very helpful." I walked toward the door. "Mr. Hale?" Harper's voice was small, nervous. "Are you going to—" "Have a good day, Harper." I walked out. In my car, I sat for a moment, looked at the building through the windshield, thought about Marina inside that space in 3 days, walking down the aisle, smiling, celebrating, with Raven beside her, with Cole waiting at the altar, with 200 guests witnessing her perfect day. The day I'd built. I pulled out my phone and called Dorian. "I need you to draft a formal withdrawal of financial support, effective 72 hours before the event. Cite breach of implied agreement due to exclusion and unauthorized changes." "Evan, are you absolutely sure?" "Completely. This is going to devastate her." "I know." He was quiet for 3 seconds. I counted them. "Okay, I'll have it ready by this evening." "Thank you." I drove to work, finished 2 property evaluations, ate lunch at my desk, sandwich from home, apple, water bottle, answered emails, attended a video conference about a commercial property assessment, acted like everything was completely normal, Because it was. I just decided to stop being invisible. At 4 p.m., my phone buzzed. Text from Dorian. Document ready? Want to review before I file? I typed back, no, file it. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared, appeared again. Filed. Copies sent to venue, catering, photography, music services. All contracts frozen as of now. Confirmation emails incoming. I set the phone down. Across the office, Janet was packing up her things. She waved. Have a great evening, Evan. Excited for the wedding? I smiled. Very excited. She left. I sat in the quiet office, listening to the hum of computers, and felt nothing at all. The county records office was a squat brick building downtown, sandwiched between a bail bonds office and a check-cashing place. Inside, it smelled like old paper and floor wax. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. I approached the counter. A woman in her 50s with reading glasses on a chain looked up. Help you? I need copies of all financial transactions related to an event venue contract. The Riverside Estate. She typed something. Name. Evan Hale. More typing. What dates? Past 6 months. She printed a form. Fill this out. $15 processing fee. Takes about 20 minutes. I filled out the form. Paid in cash. Sat in a plastic chair and waited. 23 minutes later, she called my name, handed me a manila folder. All transactions matching your criteria. 47 total. I took the folder to my car. Opened it. Page after page of documentation, bank transfers, credit card payments, deposit confirmations, processing fees, payment plans, upgrades, additions, changes. Every single one traced back to my accounts. Not Marina's name anywhere, not Cole's, not his family's mysterious wealth that apparently funded everything, just mine. $42,000 documented down to the cent, catering $12,000, venue $15,000, photography $6,000, floral arrangements $4,000, music $3,000, miscellaneous upgrades $2,000. It was all there, irrefutable, clean, the kind of documentation that would hold up in any dispute. I sat in my car outside the records office, flipping through pages, and felt a strange satisfaction. This was what I did for a living. Evaluated assets, assessed worth, documented value. At work that afternoon, I finished evaluating a warehouse property for a potential buyer. Industrial space, 12,000 square feet, good bones but needed electrical work. I calculated depreciation, assessed structural integrity, estimated renovation costs. My colleague Tom stopped by around 3. You're freakishly accurate with these assessments, he said, looking at my report. How do you do it? I pay attention, I said. Most people look at the surface. I look at what holds it up. The foundation. Exactly. You can have the most beautiful building in the world, but if the foundation's cracked, it's worthless. He laughed. Deep. Very philosophical. It's just true. Probably why they pay you the big consultant fees. I didn't mention that those fees had been drained into a wedding I wasn't invited to. Just smiled and turned back to my work. That evening, I drove to the hotel where Marina and Raven were staying. The Grand Belmont, upscale place downtown, marble lobby, crystal chandeliers, valet parking. The kind of hotel where rooms started at $300 a night. I didn't go inside, just parked across the street where I could see the entrance. At 6:15, they emerged. Marina in a designer dress, navy blue, fitted, probably cost more than my monthly car payment. Raven in something elegant and expensive, black cocktail dress, heels that clicked on the marble, designer purse. Both laughing, both glowing, both looking like they'd never been apart. They handed the valet a ticket, waited for the car. A sleek black sedan pulled up. Cole's car. He must have lent it to them. They got in and drove toward the restaurant district. I followed at a distance, not too close, just close enough to see where they went. They pulled up to Marcello's, high-end Italian place, the kind with cloth napkins and wine lists thicker than phone books. I parked down the block, watched them go inside. The maitre d' greeted them like old friends, showed them to a table by the window. 15 minutes later, Marina and Raven came out of the restaurant, not leaving, just stepping outside. Marina was on her phone. Raven was smoking a cigarette, elegant even in that. I rolled down my window slightly, could hear fragments of their conversation. The orchids are going to be perfect, Raven was saying. I told the florist to make them dramatic. This is your moment, sweetheart. Cole's mother is going to be so impressed, Marina replied. She kept saying how important first impressions are at these things. And now you don't have to worry about... Raven lowered her voice, but I could still hear. You know, The awkwardness of having Evan there. He never really fit anyway. Marina laughed, actually laughed. Oh my gosh, Mom, stop. I'm serious. You've outgrown that phase of your life. Time to move forward with people who actually matter, people who can help you build the life you deserve. Cole says the same thing. He thinks Evan is limited, like he's nice enough, but he doesn't have ambition. Exactly. You need people around you who match your energy, your potential. They finished their cigarettes, went back inside. I sat in my car for another 10 minutes. Then I started the engine and drove away. No confrontation, no scene, no dramatic moment. Just information gathered, context understood, motivations confirmed. At midnight, my phone buzzed. Text from Dorian. Everything you asked for is ready. Documents prepared, legal standing confirmed, copies filed with all vendors. Withdrawal takes effect Thursday at 4 p.m. unless you cancel it. You sure you want to do this? I typed back, yes. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared, appeared again. Okay. I'll be on standby Saturday. If things go sideways, call me immediately. They won't go sideways. They'll go exactly as planned. I set the phone down and opened my laptop. Pulled up the venue contract one more time. Read Section 7, Event Cancellation and Service Suspension. Then Section 12, Primary Payer Rights and Authorization. Then Section 15, Dispute Resolution and Immediate Holds. I'd spent 10 years learning to evaluate what things were worth, how to assess value, how to identify weaknesses in structures, how to find leverage points where small actions created large effects. This was just another evaluation, and I knew exactly what this wedding was worth, and who controlled it. The next morning, Thursday, I woke at 6, made coffee, scrambled eggs, toast, normal morning routine. At 8:30, I received a text from Harper, the wedding coordinator. Mr. Hale, we need to talk. Final vendor locks happen at 4 p.m. today. I need confirmation from you before we can proceed. Please call me. I didn't call, just sent a text. You'll have my answer by 4. At 9, Patricia from the catering company called. Mr. Hale, I received your withdrawal notice. I need to understand what's happening. We have food ordered for 200 people. If we cancel now, we lose thousands of dollars. Check your contract, I said calmly. What does it say about payment disputes? It says we can't provide service if payment is contested. But Mr. Hale, the wedding is in 2 days. That's not my problem. I'm withdrawing my financial support. You can pursue payment from Marina or Cole if you want, but not from me. Silence. Then, this is going to ruin. I know what it's going to do. That's the point. I ended the call. At noon, Leon called. Evan, Harper from the venue contacted me. She's panicking. She wants to know if there's any way to resolve this. There isn't. She's offering to mediate, to get you and Marina in a room together. I don't want to be in a room with Marina. Evan, Dad, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but this is done. It's over. Let it happen. Long silence. Okay, I just wanted you to know you had options. We hung up. At 2 p.m., I received an email from the photographer. Subject line: Urgent, payment status required. The message was professionally worded, but clearly stressed. They needed confirmation of payment before they could commit equipment and staff. I didn't respond. At 3:30, my phone started ringing. Marina. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. Text messages started coming. Evan, what's going on? The venue says there's a problem. Call me now. This isn't funny. Evan. I silenced my phone. At 3:55 p.m., I sent a single email to Harper, Patricia, the photographer, the band leader, and the florist. Subject: Final confirmation, withdrawal of financial support. Body: As stated in my previous communications, I am formally withdrawing all financial support for the Marina Hale, Shaksh, Cole Brennan wedding scheduled for Saturday, December 10th. This withdrawal is effective immediately. Please process refunds according to contract terms. I hit send. At exactly 4:00 p.m., my phone exploded. Calls, texts, emails, voicemails. Harper. Mr. Hale, please, we need to talk. Patricia. This is a disaster. The photographer. We're packing up. Marina. 12 missed calls. Cole. We'll sue you. Leon. Evan. Marina is at my house. She's hysterical. I turned off my phone. Walked to my kitchen, made a sandwich, turkey and cheese, sat at my table, ate slowly. Outside, the sun was still shining. Traffic hummed. The world continued normally. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow would be the reckoning. Friday morning arrived cold and gray. cloud cover thick enough to dim the sun, but not thick enough to bring rain. The kind of weather that felt appropriate somehow. Atmospheric, like the sky itself understood what was coming. I woke at 6, made coffee in my small kitchen, the familiar ritual grounding me, showered, dressed in casual clothes, jeans, comfortable shirt, nothing special, just another day, except it wasn't. My phone was still off from yesterday. I turned it on briefly to check the damage, watching the screen light up with notification after notification. 63 missed calls, 147 text messages, 32 voicemails. The numbers kept climbing as the phone caught up with everything it had missed overnight. I scrolled through the names: Marina, Raven, Cole, Harper, various vendors, Leon, even some people I didn't recognize, probably friends of Marina's who'd gotten my number somehow, maybe bridesmaids, maybe Cole's family members trying to intervene. The messages ranged from pleading to threatening. Marina: "Please, Evan, I'm begging you. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Please fix this." Another from Marina: "I don't know what to do. Everything is falling apart. Please answer." And another: "Dad, please. I know I hurt you, but please don't do this." Raven: "You're ruining her life out of spite. You're pathetic. I always knew you were small." Cole: "My lawyers are reviewing your contracts. You won't get away with this. We have rights." Harper: "Mr. Hale, I've worked in this industry for 15 years. I've never seen anything like this. Please reconsider. There has to be a solution." Leon: "Son, call me. Let's talk about this. Marina is beside herself." I turned the phone off again, set it on the kitchen counter face down, poured myself another cup of coffee, and stood by the window looking out at the overcast morning. Somewhere across town, Marina was probably awake too, probably panicking, probably making desperate calls to anyone who might be able to help, but there was no help coming. Not for this. At 9 a.m., I drove to the garden pavilion where the pre-wedding photos were scheduled. The venue had texted me yesterday, before I withdrew everything, confirming that Marina wanted photos there at 2 p.m. today. One last session before the big day, a chance to capture the bride in a more relaxed setting, they'd said. I wanted to see it, the space I'd paid for, the moment I'd funded, the illusion that was about to shatter completely. I parked at the back of the lot and walked along the perimeter path. My footsteps crunched on gravel. The garden was beautiful in a stark way. Winter had stripped most of the color, but the bones of the landscaping were still elegant. Stone pathways winding through carefully maintained beds, bare trees with interesting shapes, their branches reaching toward the gray sky. The fountain in the center, water still running despite the cold, creating a soft sound that echoed in the quiet space. White roses had been installed yesterday around the lattice arches. Raven's upgrade. They looked pristine, professional, expensive. Orchids would arrive tomorrow morning, or they would have, if everything hadn't been frozen, if the contracts hadn't been pulled, if the whole elaborate machine hadn't ground to a halt. I stood near the maintenance shed, same spot as before, waiting. The air smelled like damp earth and cold stone. A few birds called to each other from the bare trees, otherwise silence. At 2:15, Marina arrived, not in a black SUV this time, in Cole's car, the sleek gray sedan I'd seen at Leon's house months ago. He was driving. Raven was in the passenger seat. All 3 doors opened simultaneously like they'd choreographed it. They all got out. Marina looked terrible, eyes red and puffy, makeup unable to hide the fact that she'd been crying for hours, maybe all night. She wore jeans and an oversized sweater, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Nothing like the polished bride-to-be from earlier this week. Nothing like the confident young woman who'd posted glamorous photos with her mother. Raven looked furious, tight jaw, sharp movements, the kind of anger that had been building for hours and was looking for a target. Her elegant clothes from yesterday were gone, replaced by something more practical but still expensive, designer casual wear. Cole looked annoyed more than anything, inconvenienced, like this was a minor disruption to his schedule rather than a complete catastrophe. He checked his watch as soon as he got out of the car. The photographer was already set up near the fountain, looking uncomfortable. Middle-aged man with professional equipment spread around him. He was adjusting his camera unnecessarily, clearly aware of the tension radiating from the arriving group. "Where are the orchids?" Raven demanded immediately, her voice cutting across the garden like a blade. The photographer shifted his weight, looking trapped. "Ma'am, I just take photos. You'd need to ask the venue staff about—" "I specifically requested white orchids for today's session. Where are they? They should be here. They're supposed to match tomorrow's arrangements." A young venue worker approached nervously, the same one who'd seen me last time. I recognized his cautious walk, the way he held his clipboard like a shield. His hands were shaking slightly. "Ma'am, there's been a situation with the contracts. Some of the vendor services have been—" "Have been what?" Raven's voice rose sharply. "Suspended. Pending payment resolution." Raven's face flushed red, anger spreading up her neck. "That's impossible. Everything was confirmed. I spoke to the florist personally 3 days ago. They promised me everything would be perfect." Marina stepped forward, voice small and broken. "Mom, I told you. Evan withdrew everything yesterday. All the contracts are frozen. Nothing is coming. Nothing is happening." "He can't do that. It's illegal. We have rights. There are laws about this kind of thing." The worker looked increasingly uncomfortable, glancing back toward the main building like he wished backup would arrive. "Actually, ma'am, according to the primary payer clause in our standard contract—" "I don't care about clauses. I want those orchids. Do you understand? My daughter is getting married tomorrow, and everything needs to be perfect. This is her special day, her one day." "They were never ordered, ma'am. The florist canceled when the payment hold went into effect yesterday at 4 p.m. There's nothing we can do at this point. Even if we could order them now, there's no time for delivery and installation." Raven turned to Marina, her voice sharp and commanding. "Call him. Call Evan right now and fix this. Talk to him. Apologize. Do whatever you have to do." "I've called him 50 times. More than 50 times. He won't answer. None of my calls go through. I think he blocked my number." "Then go to his apartment, his office. Drive there right now and find him. Stand outside his door until he talks to you." "Mom, he's not going to—" "Find him!" Raven's voice echoed across the garden, scattering a few birds from nearby trees. They took flight in a flurry of wings. "This is your wedding, your one special day, the day every girl dreams about. You're not going to let some bitter man ruin it because his feelings got hurt, because he couldn't handle the truth." I watched from my hidden spot as Marina sank onto a stone bench near the fountain, crying. Her shoulders trembled heavily. The photographer looked away awkwardly, pretending to adjust his camera settings, checking lenses he didn't need to check. The worker retreated several steps, clearly wanting to escape this entire situation. Cole paced nearby, phone pressed to his ear, talking to someone urgently. His voice carried in fragments across the cold air. "Yes, I understand that. But this is an emergency. Money isn't an issue. I don't care what it costs. Tomorrow afternoon? We need everything. Catering, flowers, music. Fine. Double the rate if you have to. Triple it." He was trying to find replacement vendors, calling in favors, throwing money at the problem. Good luck with that on less than 24 hours' notice. Good luck booking anything decent when every reputable vendor in the city was already committed. Marina looked up at him through her tears, mascara streaking her face. "Cole, what are they saying? Can they do it?" "They're saying it's too late. Everything's booked. It's peak wedding season, December weddings." His voice was flat, defeated, the confidence gone. "What about your family's connections? Your mom said she knew people. She said she could make calls." "My mother's connections don't work miracles, Marina. You don't book a 200-person wedding in one day. This isn't a restaurant reservation. This is a major event." Raven stepped between them, trying to maintain control, trying to salvage something. "Then we'll do something smaller, more intimate. We'll call the guests, explain there's been a venue change." "To where?" Cole snapped, his patience clearly exhausted. "Our backyard, a park. This was supposed to be elegant, sophisticated. My family is flying in from 3 states. My father's business partners are coming. What am I supposed to tell them? Sorry, we're having a backyard barbecue instead. Tell them the truth, that Evan is sabotaging everything out of pure vindictiveness, that he's a small, petty man who— The truth is, Marina screwed up." Cole's voice rose, anger finally breaking through his polished exterior. "She picked a fight with the guy paying for everything, and now we're all suffering for it. This is on her." Marina's face crumpled. Fresh tears streamed down her cheeks. "Cole, please. I told you to handle him carefully. I told you not to burn that bridge until after the wedding, but you had to make a statement, you had to choose sides, and you chose wrong." The words hung in the cold air like ice. After 10 minutes of painful circular arguments that went nowhere, accomplished nothing, they left. Marina could barely walk, supported by Raven. Cole strode ahead to the car, not looking back. No photos taken, no moment captured. Just 3 people returning to their car in defeat, their perfect plans crumbling around them. The garden fell silent again. The fountain continued running, water splashing peacefully. The white roses remained perfect and untouched on their arches, beautiful and pointless now, all dressed up with nowhere to go. I walked back to my car slowly, taking in the peaceful scene one last time. The empty garden, the disappointed photographer packing up his equipment, the venue worker radioing someone, probably reporting the disaster. At 3:30, I received a call from the venue's legal department. I answered on the third ring, curious what they'd try. Mr. Hale, this is David Morse from Riverside Estate Legal Counsel. We need to discuss the situation regarding tomorrow's event. What's to discuss? You withdrew payment 48 hours before a contracted event. That's created significant complications for us and for the clients. Our reputation is on the line here. Check Section 7 of the contract. I have that right under documented breach of agreement. We've reviewed the section. Your documentation appears valid. The text message you provided does constitute changed circumstances. However, nothing. The contract is clear, black and white. Silence. Then, Mr. Hale, we're asking you to reconsider, as a gesture of goodwill on our part. No. We could offer you a partial refund immediately, 75% of your deposit. Processed today, you'd have the money in your account by Monday morning. I want the full 80% as specified in Section 12, subsection C. That requires arbitration. Could take weeks, maybe months. Legal fees on both sides. Then I'll wait. I've got time. I've got nothing but time. More silence. I could hear him breathing, thinking, trying to find an angle. Mr. Hale, I need you to understand the position this puts us in. We have a young woman who uninvited me from the event I funded, who replaced me with a mother who abandoned her for 10 years, who treated me like an ATM instead of family, who erased me from her life until she needed money. I'm done. But tomorrow there will be 200 guests arriving expecting. Who will learn a valuable lesson about respecting the people who show up for you, about understanding who makes your life possible. You're willing to humiliate her publicly for this? I'm willing to let her experience the consequences of her choices. There's a difference. I ended the call. At 5 p.m., Dorian texted. The venue's lawyers called me. They want to negotiate. They're offering you 75% refund processed immediately plus waiver of all admin fees. That's actually better than contract terms. That's a good deal. What should I tell them? Tell them I'll see them in arbitration. Evan, they're offering good terms. Better than you'd get in arbitration, honestly. You'd walk away with more money. I don't want their money. I want them to understand what they did. Who's they? Everyone who forgot I existed until I made them remember. Everyone who took me for granted. 3 dots appeared on my screen, disappeared, appeared again. Dorian was choosing his words carefully. Okay, I'll tell them no deal, but Evan? Yeah? This is really happening. Tomorrow. In less than 24 hours. Are you absolutely sure? Completely. All right. I trust you. I'll be available all day tomorrow if you need anything. Any problems, any questions, anything at all. Thanks, Dorian. I appreciate it. That's what friends are for. That evening, I sat in my apartment, made dinner, pasta with marinara sauce, simple and filling, the kind of meal I'd made hundreds of times, watched television, some detective show I'd seen before but couldn't quite remember the ending. Normal Friday night. The kind of evening that could have been any evening, except tomorrow 200 people would arrive at a venue expecting a wedding, expecting celebration, expecting joy. And instead, they'd get a lesson about consequences, about what happens when you forget who matters, when you erase the people who built your life. I went to bed at 10, set my alarm for 7 a.m., lay in the darkness for a while, thinking about the past 10 years, about Marina at 12, scared and confused when her mother left, about teaching her to drive, about helping her pick a college, about all the small moments that had built trust, and then about watching it all dissolve, about being erased, about being reduced to a bank account. Tomorrow would be the reckoning. Tomorrow would be the day she understood. I closed my eyes and slept better than I had in months. Saturday morning, wedding day. I woke at 7. The sky was clear now. Perfect weather. I made breakfast, eggs, toast, coffee, sat at my kitchen table reading the news like it was any other weekend. At 8:30, my phone rang. Leon. Evan, Marina showed up here at 6 this morning. She's still here. She's begging me to help her reach you. What did you tell her? I told her I'd try, so I'm trying. Dad, just listen. She knows she was wrong. She's admitted it. She's apologizing. She wants to make things right. It's too late for that. She's willing to do anything. Apologize publicly. Pay you back. Whatever you want. I want her to understand that actions have consequences. I think she understands now. Not yet, but she will. Silence. Evan, I'm not going to beg you. I'm just telling you she's here. Raven is calling her every 10 minutes, screaming. Cole's family is threatening to pull out entirely. She's losing everything. Good. She's my granddaughter. And I was her father. Until I wasn't. Leon sighed. All right. I had to try. We hung up. I showered, shaved, put on my Navy suit, the one I wore to important evaluations. At 10 a.m., I drove toward the venue. Took my time. The parking lot was already filling. Luxury cars, well-dressed people milling around the entrance, looking confused. The doors were closed. Staff members stood outside looking stressed. I parked at the back, sat in my car, watched. At 10:30, Harper emerged from a side entrance, talking rapidly on her phone, gesturing. Even from this distance, I could see the panic. At 11, a catering truck arrived, pulled up to the loading dock. The driver got out, went inside, came back out 5 minutes later looking angry, got in his truck and drove away, no unloading. At 11:30, the photographer's van arrived. Same thing, brief conversation, departure. At noon, the band's equipment truck pulled up. Same result. The guests were getting agitated. Groups forming, people checking phones. At 12:15, Cole's family arrived. 3 black SUVs. They entered through the main doors. I could see Harper intercepting them immediately. At 12:45, Marina arrived with Raven. Marina was in her wedding dress. Full makeup, hair done. She looked beautiful and completely devastated at the same time. They rushed inside. I got out of my car, walked across the parking lot, through the confused guests, through the main entrance. Inside was chaos. The main hall was half finished, some tables set, some bare, chairs arranged in incomplete rows. The crystal chandeliers were dark. Floral arrangements sat in boxes along the wall. The ceremony arch was partially assembled but missing most of its decorations. 200 guests crowded near the entrance, murmuring. Marina stood at the front in her white dress, arguing with Harper, mascara already streaking her cheeks. Raven beside her, gesturing wildly at staff. Cole paced nearby, phone pressed to his ear. Harper saw me first. Her face went completely white. Mr. Hale. The room fell silent. Every head turned. Marina's eyes widened. Evan. I walked down the center aisle. My footsteps echoed in the unfinished space. Steady, calm. What are you doing here? Marina's voice cracked. I'm here because this is my event, I said clearly. Every contract, every payment, every vendor agreement. All in my name. Cole stepped forward. You have no right. I have every right. Check the contracts. Raven moved between us. You're ruining her wedding out of spite. This is pathetic. I looked at her directly. I raised your daughter for 10 years while you were finding yourself in Europe. I paid for her education, her car, her apartment, and her wedding. $42,000? The crowd murmured. And 3 days ago, I continued, she texted me at 2 a.m. saying I wasn't her real father, that I was uninvited, that you were taking my place. I pulled out my phone, held it up. The text message displayed clearly. These are her words. You're not my biological father. Don't show up. Gasps rippled through the guests. So I didn't show up, I said. Not as a guest. I showed up as the person who owns this event. And Thursday, I formally withdrew all financial support. Harper stepped forward with her tablet. The contracts are clear. Mr. Hale is the primary payer. Without his authorization, we cannot provide services. This is insane, Cole shouted. My family can pay. We'll cover everything right now. It's too late, Harper said quietly. The contracts are with Mr. Hale. He'd need to release them first. That requires arbitration. Marina turned to me, desperation replacing anger. Please, Evan, Dad, please don't do this. I'm not your dad. You made that very clear. I was upset. I didn't mean... You meant it. You replaced me with someone who abandoned you, who chose herself over you for 10 years, who came back only when there was attention to gain. Raven's face went red. How dare you? How dare I? My voice stayed level. I dared to raise your daughter. I dared to pay for everything she needed. I dared to show up every single day while you posted vacation photos. The room was completely silent. You wanted a wedding, I said to Marina. You got one, but you forgot who made it possible. A staff member appeared. Mr. Hale, we've been instructed to remove all equipment. Do you want us to proceed? Yes. No, Marina screamed. Please, no. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't change what you did. Staff began moving. Rolling carts appeared. Warming trays unplugged. The band started packing instruments. Another worker approached Harper. The ceremony arch? Harper looked at me. I nodded. Workers began dismantling the white floral arch. Guests pulled out phones, filming, recording. Cole grabbed Marina's arm. Come on, we're leaving. She pulled away. Where? Everything is... My family will figure something out. Raven tried one more time. You're destroying her happiness because you're bitter and small. No, I said. I'm teaching her that actions have consequences, that you can't erase people and expect them to smile about it. I looked at Marina one last time. I raised you. I funded your dream. You erased me. Today you see who built this day, and who can unbuild it. Her legs buckled. Cole caught her. Around us, the hall continued dismantling. Lights shutting off, tables cleared, decorations removed. I turned and walked toward the exit. Behind me, chaos erupted. Raven screaming, Cole arguing, Harper trying to calm guests, Marina sobbing. The florist's cart rolled past, carrying pieces of the ceremony arch. I pushed through the main doors into sunlight.